I loved it. I heard you guys out back. You guys were so great. So I want to bring out our cast and crew so we can talk about this. First, we've got producer and director Carrie Shawcross. Screenwriter Megan Fitzmartin. Lindsay Jones, who plays Ruby. Tara Everly, who plays Weiss. Zach, who plays Blake. Barbara Dunkelman, who plays Yang. Natalie Allen Lynn, our Wonder Woman. True Valentino, who plays Cyborg. And Jeannie Toronto, who plays the Green Lantern. They're all out. All right. Congratulations, you guys, this is so good. So first of all right, so like I'm a RWBY noob. I did not, like I knew about this, I had heard it, I had seen it at cons, everything. I did not know the show until I was asked to do this panel, and they sent me the film. I spent so many hours last night watching the episodes, like your first episodes, like the first 2 seasons. So much fun! So I just want to, and also you guys are coming up on your 10th anniversary this year, right? Which is amazing.
It's been a very long time, yeah. Our 9th season is currently airing right now.
Right, in fact, a new episode dropped today, correct?
Yes, every Saturday.
Yeah.
Please go watch it.
Yeah. So this is, I'm delighted, because I know Warner Brothers, they know how to do a superhero movie, they know how to do the Justice League, like the animation stuff is so fun, but this is all new for me. And I think for a lot of viewers, it will be something very new. So let's talk about how did this partnership happen?
We're all kind of like under the same umbrella company. So a while ago, we had this idea to do some crossover comics with Warner Brothers and DC as well. And people liked them, and we liked them, and we thought they were really cool. So eventually, I was talking with some people at our company, including Jeff Yetter, and we all decided, well, what if we just went and said, hey, why don't we also do some animation? And everybody emphatically said yes. And then we went to Warner Brothers, and they said yes, and DC said yes. And it was almost strangely too easy in some ways. And here we are.
It's so cool, because also, what a great vote of confidence, because you could have gone to them and said like, oh, we want to do this, and then they could have given you, like a hero to team with, like a smaller group, but to give you the Justice League to play with them, that's huge.
It was pretty incredible and also very intimidating. But thankfully, Megan has a lot of experience with them, so it worked out really well.
Yeah, Megan, what was that like for you getting to work with characters that were completely new to this universe?
I mean, we were all just learning. I feel like that was the best part of it. Some people have been asking me like, oh, well, like the crossover's all different. I was like, yeah, it was new to them too. So it really worked out on the screen to be able to have everyone go, but why is it like this?
Right.
Well, great, perfect. I can also ask that question.
I love it. And I also wanted some acknowledgments. The film was actually created with production supervision by Dan Shore, who is in the room somewhere. And also story consultant Eddie Rivas is here. And supervising producer Laurie Yates. So, and we got 2 green lanterns in the back, so thank you for keeping us safe. So this is, you've doubled down with this fish out of water tale, because you've got both groups of fish basically out of their water. This is taking the Justice League and aging them down. Is always fun, because we've gotten those tastes in some stories, but then to pair them with these 4 incredibly strong and very quirky female characters that can give them a run for their money in weirdness. How steeped were you in the RWBY knowledge?
So I got the call of like, hey, do you know anything about RWBY? And then I said, give me 2 weeks. And then I knew everything about it. It also helped out that it was December of 2020 and I didn't have a lot to do. And so I knew a lot about the Justice League already going into it, and then going into it with the team at Rooster Teeth also was so great. And it was just so much fun. As soon as I got into RWBY, I was like, no, I know that I knew it was going to be the thing that I loved. I knew it was going to be everything that I wanted it. And so playing in this world, in the sandbox with these characters, just became this joyous experience to team everybody together and to have these really rich emotional moments, because that is what I think both of these teams offer, these really beautiful, deep character stories, and we were able to play around with a little bit of it.
And that's something that, so somebody coming into this world and only knowing maybe the Justice League Society, or the Justice League side, like I know that the dynamic between these characters can be fraught sometimes. But when I spent a lot of time with RWBY last night, it was really cool to see the dynamic and how these relationships had formed. And I love something that, like, I have no kids, but I love the fact that these are, like, these women, these female characters, there's no mean girl, there's no bad girl, there's no, like, they all work together, but they have their conflicts and they have their dynamics. And, I mean, Weiss is kind of a him. But also, how much are we shipping Bruce Wayne and Weiss? So into all of this, and again, I'm sorry I'm coming at you with a lot of like new energy here. I'm really loving this. So for the team, for Carrie and your team, basically, how was it? It's 10 years. Things have changed. Yeah, technologically, animation-wise, everything like that. How was it working in a new, like this forum where you got to kind of maybe tweak the look sometimes?
It was a lot of the same and a lot of different. You know, every year, I mean, if you go back and look at Volume 1 and you go look at Volume 9, which is currently airing, please go watch it. Night and day different visual look. You know, every year, every project we try and add to our look, find new ways to do things faster, do things better. So really this was just the next version of that, of trying to polish and trying to make things more efficient. You know, so it was, in that way, it was the same, but to also have kind of the stress or maybe the anxiety of also making, you know, welcoming this entire other fan base into our world, it was a lot. But I think our team did a great job, and, you know, we took it really seriously, and, you know, was working with amazing people that really helped, you know, guide us but not limit us. I think that was the thing that I was honestly just very pleasantly surprised at. And, you know, the second I hear we're making something with this big corporation, I was like, okay, this is going to be very strict, there's going to be a lot of rules. And there are some rules, as there should be, but we had a lot of freedom, and I think that that really led us to do something really cool, really unique that, you know, hasn't been seen on the Justice League side, because it's, you know, bring part over to RWBY.
Yeah, I can only imagine the discussions that were had about like tweaking the look of an iconic Bat character, you know, or like getting to mess with like giving Vixen an actual tail. You know,
yeah.
like how, I would imagine some places would be like, oh no, you don't mess with that.
Yeah, Megan, there's a couple of things that, you know, it was like, can we do this? I guess we'll just ask.
There were a number of times where we were like, we'll just ask for forgiveness.
Right. And how did you guys decide the pairings and like the teaming, you know, within the groups?
So that sort of came from coming at this from a very character-based perspective. We knew that going into it, a lot of people would know the Justice League, but maybe they wouldn't necessarily know the girls, and that's really important because they're really great. And so wanting to match everybody, put everyone on an even playing field, and then looking at everyone from a character perspective, going, what two characters work together really well? What two characters need to give to each other? Something about like the Jean and Jessica pairing was something that was like, oh yeah, no, this makes sense based on the emotion that we want to accomplish with both of these characters. It therefore made sense to pair them together. And to Carrie's point, a lot of it came together so incredibly easy, which I think means that we're on the right track.
For our Justice Leaguers, I know a couple of you have had experiences in anime and superheroes. Jeannie, you have years of anime experience, and I hear that True Valentino is a Cuphead.
I am Cuphead.
Yes, you are Cuphead. But this is your first venture into the DC world, correct?
Yes, correct.
So how was that getting to? I mean, these are great roles.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do, you know, some form of a superhero character, and also do anime, which I never got a chance to do yet. And so doing this was kind of like marrying both of those things together, which was kind of cool. So yeah.
And since I've been in the anime world for a bit, so I knew of the RWBY franchise. So I was like, oh, cool. And then DC, oh, double cool. That's super cool. But I only know, don't hate me, because I now know, like, we don't count the movie, but I just knew the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern. Yeah, and then I was like, oh, Jessica's so much cooler. And she's so much more like human and vulnerable and raw, so I personally loved the pairing with her and John, because they were both in such a raw place, but then they're kind of lifting each other up. And with anime, so many times you're tied to the mouth flaps because it's already animated in another country, and then you're putting your performance into their animation. With this, they animated to our performance. So a lot of like what Jessica's saying, where she's unsure and she's kind of stuttering a bit, I had the freedom to just say the line as Jessica would say it, and then they animated to that. So I was spoiled.
Yeah. Right? How do you go back? And Natalie, to get to play Wonder Woman. A Wonder Woman. Like, come on. That is incredible. So how did you approach it? Because this is a huge, iconic character. We've seen a couple productions of a Wonder Woman. What was your take? How did you approach her?
With fear. I mean, so this is actually my first time doing anything animated or any sort of voiceover work. So when my agent called and said that they were interested in having me do this, I was like, what the? Like, I didn't even know how to process it, because Wonder Woman isn't such an iconic character, and especially being pretty much like the first recognizable female superhero was huge. So I wanted to be able to do it in a way that felt authentic, but not taking from previous Wonder Woman characters. Because, I mean, obviously this is a crazy universe, and these guys are so talented. So the last thing I wanted to do was try to pull in previous inspiration, because this is its own thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is crazy just kind of being in a studio and like Carrie just going like, now you're on a motorcycle, you're gonna jump off of it and then kill 3 Grim. I'm like, what is a Grim?
The exact like jump effort sound for that.
Yes, exactly. I don't know what that sounds like, and it ended up working out, and it was so much fun. So much fun.
No, we had we did the Batman, the Doom that came to Gotham panel last night, and talked to them about how long these projects take. So what was your timetable? How long did it take from like conception and agreeing to put these 2 worlds together to this actual screening today?
I don't remember. Do you remember when you started writing?
I started, well, I came on, I heard about it December 2020, and then we started, I think, in January 2021, just talking about it, developing it, and writing it.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And then, Laura, I don't know if you remember. I have no idea. We, we wrapped a little bit ago in terms of just like the overall production. So it was, I want to say like a year or so. I'm going to be super wrong. I'm so sorry. I don't actually remember. Things are kind of a blur.
Right, because at the same time you were actually making actual RWBY episodes.
So we were balancing kind of, this project, the actual season. We really want to make sure that we weren't, crunching our team. We weren't, degrading the quality of any of these things. So different teams, like different steps of the pipeline in between, we're working on different shows at the time, or different projects like this and then the series. But so it's been a pretty long process, all things considered.
And now for the RWBY ladies, I'm such a fan of your work. And how was it? What was it for you guys to get to? What does this mean for you as far as the brand, the franchise, and these characters? Because I'm assuming that there's a lot of interaction with you guys and Carrie as far as what this means for these characters. So what were you hoping you would get from this, and what did you see happening?
Just working on RWBY proper, we've gotten to see the show evolve not only as its own intellectual property, but then branch off into different genres and formats. So I feel like this is just the next step in our adventure, but we could not be more overwhelmed and honestly just like humbled by the fact that we get to do this and interact with the literal monoliths behind the DC universe. So.
Yeah, it's very surreal, I think, is like the word that I keep using today. It's so weird to grow up with Justice League and DC and to actually now be part of this team and part of this universe together. And also, I've always wanted to play a character that would simp over Wonder Woman, and I got to do that. So that was pretty cool, I gotta say.
Watching you.
My character's got a thing for dark-haired ladies, what can I say?
I think it's like really absolutely, you know, crazy and something that, you know, I kind of still say, is this real life? Is this really happening right now? This is so amazing and so cool and such a great opportunity. And I think fans, not only of, you know, the RWBY universe, but also Justice League, will get the best of both worlds combined into one world. And it's a great, exciting opportunity. And I really am excited for what else to see.
I'm kind of in the same Wonder Woman boat, to be honest. Wonder Woman was like my first Halloween costume that my mom made for me, and I used to watch the show with her. So it is surreal to be a part of something where something that we've been working on for so long is combined with something that the world has known for so long. So it's just very cool.
I know you complimented our voice acting earlier. Like, we have had the honor of getting to work with so many incredibly talented voice actors, and this is absolutely no exception. Like Jeannie, Natalie, and Drew, you guys are awesome.
Absolutely.
And for Jeannie, Natalie, and Drew, so I'm sure you guys have been asked a ton of times, like, what would be your semblance? But you, for the Justice Leaguers, what would you choose as your own personal semblance?
I feel like Green Lantern, she literally gets to have like anything. Like her imagination is the limit. So I would want that. Because then if you can dream it, you can do it.
I would say probably Flash, like not evil Flash though. Regular Flash. I don't know. Super speed is pretty sick.
Yeah.
I feel like I could get a lot done.
Especially living in LA.
For all Flash, no thank you.
I just realized that we're on the big screen. So I just want to say, hi everybody, how's everybody doing? My semblance would be whatever Superman is. Because he's super strong, and if you guys read the comics, he's just as fast as Flash. If not faster. So if I just have
That's debatable.
Okay, we have enough DC beefs going on right now. Let's not start a new one. True, you worked with Nathan Fillion, yes, who has also done a bunch of these Warner Brothers animated. Did he give you any advice on playing into the world?
So I actually that question was asked to me in an interview today, and I was like, oh, I didn't know he did. And I was like, that's so rude of Nathan not to tell me. And then the person was like, well, did you tell Nathan that you were working on this? I said, no, I didn't. So I think me and him need to communicate.
We can send you home with a DVD.
Please do, yes.
Yeah. Carrie, was there ever a discussion, like what was the discussion like as far as where part one would be set?
Well, you know, I think, we've been doing RWBY, like you said, we've been doing RWBY for so long that I think, we were at first most interested in, what would it be like to bring just the characters over to Remnant, mainly because then we get to design cool new outfits for them. It was definitely a little selfish on my part. But, I think it was an interesting opportunity and, also really wanted to have the opportunity to introduce this, DC fan base over to RWBY. But, I think the other way could be cool too. We'll see.
Okay. Megan, when you were writing it, did you keep in mind the visual style of RWBY?
Not only did I keep the visual style in mind, I had a spreadsheet of everybody's names, everybody's semblance, everybody's weapons, everyone's colors, and then I put it on my computer so that wherever I was, I would know this is what they look like, this is what they do. And it was, I'll tell you, it was super helpful.
I remember our first meeting, maybe it was our second meeting, but we sent you like the RWBY companion book that we have. And it was, I can't remember if it was right before or after, but like the next meeting afterwards, you had it and like the spine was a little worn and you could see sticky notes just sticking out all through it. And I was like, okay, cool, I think we're in good hands.
So the film obviously has a ton of action and a ton of comedy, but also a ton of heart. You're dealing with these characters who, it's very cool to de-age the Justice Leaguers and kind of force them to kind of revisit certain like insecurities and certain things that we have as young people or had as young people.
Currently have.
Yes. So for the actors, how was it to like kind of, how do you approach doing scenes where you're basically recording alone, but you're also trying to get to the heart of a very emotional moment?
I mean, it all depends. We're too polite up here. It all depends on the scenario, of course. Obviously, we're very blessed to work with some incredible directors, including Carrie, who has been directing us ever since the beginning of RWBY. And especially for us, the Team RWBY, we know our characters just inside and out because we've been voicing these characters for 10 years. And so it's really easy to get into character, especially when you're like me and you sound just like her, you don't have to do much. But yeah, we just know them so deeply and so intimately, and being able to play off of people like Carrie, who are great directors, but also really good actors. So it almost feels like you're in the scene with them and you're immersed in that moment. And you know, it's great to be challenged as a voice actor, to be through all these different scenarios, and then to get to this movie where you're in a completely different situation. Just fun, is all I could say.
And I have to commend Carrie, Megan, the team. I think making the decision to make these characters that are so well known, like RWBY and DC superheroes, to change them, to use a device that says you might know them, but you don't know them in this circumstance, in this situation. It not only refreshes the audience's mind of like, oh, this is actually a new iteration of this character I thought I knew, and now I'm learning more about them. But also for us actors, we didn't have to be tied to our preconceived notions of, oh, this is what Superman normally sounds like, because we're coming at it brand new. Superman as a teenager, Green Lantern as a teenager, and that allowed us to put, I think, a lot of ourselves into it and our own take onto a well-known character.
You're talking about also just the preparation for the character too. I love narratively how it is that beautiful blend of two worlds that are, in a sense, unfamiliar to both teams, even though they know the area that they're in. And that allows the characters from each area to approach these challenges with completely new headspaces and learn from each other. But they still have the grounding, very human element of a lot of like conflict or internal just like struggles that we're dealing with, trauma. I know the anxiety aspect for Green Lantern spoke a lot to me, and you know, even though they are high schoolers, they might have heightened emotions as adults, we still very much deal with those emotions on a daily basis, so I feel like it resonates with all audience members.
And it was very cool to watch because you forget that Wonder Woman, like, she grew up as a warrior, and these women are training to be warriors, so she knows exactly the challenges, and I love it, and you know, like, it's a very female-heavy story. You know, and these female characters really were like supporting one another. Again, like I said, like there were no mean girls and there was no like turf battles. Such a fan. And I'm sure some of you have questions, so I think there's a mic set up there, back there, that guy. So go with him.
Don't worry, we don't bite.
Okay.
We sound like.
Hello.
How did the Flash possessed by King Flicker?
Say it again, one more time.
How did the Flash possessed by King Flicker? Kilgore, yeah.
The Flash was possessed by Kilgore when they were fighting back when they were adults. We see that image of Kilgore holding Flash, and that's when he was possessed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to say I loved the character designs as a DC fan and a RWBY fan. I just thought they were wonderful. I now need a Batman version of that.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. How did you guys decide on the costume design for the Justice Leaguers to make them blend?
You know, a lot of back and forth. Aaron Wynn, our director, did an amazing job working with all of our concept artists. You know, we also had the original run of comics that, you know, I mentioned before that we were kind of able to draw some inspiration from as well. As dumb as it sounds, the first question was always, well, what would be the anime version of this character? Because I mean, like, that is, you know, at our core, you know, what inspires us and what we kind of try to have RWBY to be. So I think it was kind of taking a look at what makes these character designs classic and iconic, and accentuating some of the features and just bringing the world, adding zippers and pouches. That usually helps a lot. A little bandana, just the more cloth and things, the better.
Excellent. And where'd she go? Joe. We can't get you a Batman tattoo or anything like that, but Gary will have something for you over there. So go see him. All right, go ahead.
Is this thing on? Okay. Hi guys, how's it going? Hi. So I'm a fan of the series. I'm still like watching it, still catching up. It was just amazing seeing these two different. Oh, great question. So I want to ask, what was your guys' favorite moment in the movie?
My favorite was when Blake says, "You heard Diana, we're warriors." That was so cute. I love that.
I know I mentioned it before, but when Diana picks up Oscar and she goes, "She's really strong," because I was also thinking that in that moment at the same time.
I love when Weiss finally joins the rest of the team and goes and sees Ruby for the first time and reunites. And I'd fight with you any day.
I'm not the biggest DC nerd because there is such a sea of like incredibly knowledgeable people here. However, with the knowledge that I do have, I fangirled watching it for the first time, and I did again when Jessica had her Green Lantern speech. I was like, oh yes, it's happening.
I was gonna say that was my moment. I fangirled.
True.
And of course, the big battle at the end was insane.
My favorite moment was all of the action. I thought the fighting animation was really cool, and since I like anime, that was good for me.
I think that mine was probably when Diana gets like jealous for a second. It's kind of like fake nice. And like, has that see her like teenage angst for a second, because I for sure have done that when I have been jealous of my boyfriend talking to other girls. So that felt very real to me.
I think they're all my favorite. It's my baby. I love all of the parts, and the parts are so good. Like, my favorite part is watching it done and how amazing everyone did, from Carrie to all of the amazing voice actors to Laura. Like, every single person did such a good job, and so the whole thing is my favorite.
My real answer is the John Jessica scene. My fun, maybe actually secretly real answer is the Piano Man. That decides it is his moments.
Where's he at? Where's that?
I do need to change my answer. It is the piano.
That was a very dumb idea that myself and Richard Norman, our editor, came up with, and we're just like, doesn't make a lot of sense, but let's just do it. And then David Levy, who composed it, was like, all right, we'll just kind of, this is his moment to shine.
Go ahead.
Hi. So it was a question for mostly Batman's design. Like, loved it and everything, but what was the whole concept behind, like, from his wings, from the echolocation eyes, and his acid spit, I think it was? And, like, it works, but how did you come up with it?
Sure. We both think this, but I think the core in terms of like the wings and everything is in the RWBY universe we have people called Faunus who have an animal trait, and I think it seemed kind of obvious to us that hey, Batman is coming over, let's make him a Bat Faunus, and I think that kind of plays into if you would talk about this is him being in this more like fantasy-like world, or in terms of like RWBY style, but also the digital world is what can make him so different from his normal actual self. That would be really interesting to explore, and that's giving him actual powers instead of relying on technology and just his brain, like he usually does, and money.
I think also part of it was looking at all of the characters, and Batman specifically. Batman doesn't have any powers, and so we wanted to say, okay, well, if he did have powers, we wanted it to be specific to his detective skills. And so that is part of the echolocation, but that is also part of whenever he is seeing how things work out, it's because it's giving a nod to him as a detective in his own world. And so that is where a lot of that came from. That, and I just wanted to see him with, I know we have Man-Bat, but like I wanted that Man-Bat.
Excellent. And listen, because you brought up the term acid spit, you come over and get something from Gary, okay? That's how you get. Last question. So I'm sorry, it just came up on screen that this last question. I'm sorry.
I've been watching RWBY since I was like 9, and I wanted to know, for the RWBY ladies, how does it feel being able to do something like this? Like, RWBY started as such a kind of simple animation show, and now you're able to do something like this that's so big with the animation and style. It's just really cool to me, like 10 years later.
I'm sorry, I'm getting a little overwhelmed. It's a literal dream come true. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. We get to be a part of, again, this amazing universe that has such a history behind it, and we could not be more honored. Thank you.
Yeah. Also, the fact that you started watching when you were 9 and you're here as a full-grown adult makes me feel very old.
And thank you for continuing to watch.
Yes, thank you for sticking with us for that whole time. But yeah, as Lindsay mentioned, it's absolutely mind-blowing and surreal, and just such an honor to be part of this and to be able to grow our show and hopefully introduce RWBY to a whole new audience through this as well.
Definitely. I mean, it's something that we never knew we could have hoped for, at the beginning and everything, and it's, being here, we're at WonderCon in Anaheim, and it's 10 years later, and the fact that y'all are still watching and like it, and we still love making it and doing it, and love you guys, so thank you. It feels like a big family over here.
Truly, this show changed my life. Like, at the time I was in college, I was a barista, and I was a journalism degree, which is not something I'm interested in at all, so I had, no trajectory. And I was very depressed. Not to say I'm not now, but it was also then. But this gave me purpose, and it gave me the outlet to do what I just love doing. I've been acting my whole life, and this just made it possible. This literally changed my entire life. So it's wild to be here right now.
Thanks for changing our lives, y'all.
Yeah. So you can also go see Gary? Yeah. So I have to wrap this. So first I need to just say Justice League, RWBY, Superheroes and Huntsmen Part 1 will be available for purchase digitally and on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray combo pack and Blu-ray on April 25th. Before we go, Carrie, what can you tell us about Part 2?
Nothing.
There we go. So that's what we leave you with. You guys, thank you so much. Congratulations. You guys are an awesome audience.